For all of you who listen to Mackey's Second Floor Studios presents Submersion and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure to set Mackey's Second Floor Studios as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices. Episode 28.
Woo!
Here we are.
Finally. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Especially for you. The dulcet tones of Kyle has not graced my earlobes, or I guess my ears, not my earlobes, in a while.
That'd be kind of weird. I don't
that
know
would
what
be
he's
a little
talking
strange.
about.
I'm not sure. Yeah, well, whatever.
I hum next to his earlobes. It's quite a weird thing we've got going on. But yeah, it's been a while since we've all been on. Zach's not here tonight.
Nope. He's eating dinner, so that's apparently more important than us, but whatever.
Do you think he was being honest when he asked when we were planning on recording, or do you think he was just ready to say, "No, I can't. I got dinner. Can't do it."
I think he probably was sitting at dinner and realizing that he wasn't even close to being able to be on, and was like, "I hope it's actually 5:30 different time." Not to give away when we're recording this, but
ooh.
It's kind of like the movie we were watching where they just kept on telling us the time for no reason.
Right? Yeah. Oh my goodness, that pissed me off. I don't know why.
Dude, I know. So, it was like pointless, really.
For our listeners, it's 4:51 right now.
Yes.
Central Time. just to be clear.
Yeah. We'll keep you up. We'll keep you
updated
throughout the entire episode.
But yeah, what are other people been up to? Brom, what's up? What's up in your life?
I'm just beat. I've been busy at work and had a pretty busy weekend. I was talking to Alex a little bit earlier. I told him playing cards, goofing off, drinking with my cousins on Friday, and then yesterday had a wedding, and it was just sort of a wall-to-wall thing. I was helping my buddy take care of his kids. His wife was the maid of honor, so running up and down, catching kids, doing all that. And then we sort of hosted an after party, kept it going to like 2 a.m., which haven't done that in a while. So just beat.
Wow. So just to be clear, when you say your friend's wife was the maid of honor, you're not talking about that she was specifically the Patrick Dempsey movie Maid of Honor. She was actually like a maid of honor in the wedding.
No, she was non-fictional. This was not a movie. This was a real maid of honor.
She was not a DVD copy of a movie that came back out like in 2010.
She was not, and there was a wedding planner, and it was not Jennifer Lopez.
Wow. Okay.
Dang.
So
you may joke about that movie, but I'm pretty sure I have that movie like 40 foot away.
You do.
Just because of my wife.
I did wonder that the other day when I looked at your bookshelf. I was like, I wonder why he has a wedding planner.
No, maid of honor.
Oh, sorry. You have maid of honor?
Oh, yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
All right.
It's great.
Alex, any wedding fiascos for you?
No, I haven't been to a wedding a couple months, so it's been nice. Although weddings are nice to go to just for the free food.
And the dancing.
Yeah.
You're like a dance machine, right?
We had an open bar, and I was smashing legal joints.
Ooh.
Wow, really?
Ooh.
Yeah, there was a period of time where there was like nobody in there except me just talking to the bartender. I'm like, hey, would you mind mixing me something since nobody's around? Would you sort of do something a little more complicated? So I walked her through the legal joint, and she ended up making me 3 of them, and my buddies ended up loving it, and they were going and getting them. It was
what's in those again? I can't remember.
We
used to drink these in college.
You were
all the
confusing
time.
me a little bit. It's like kind of a maid of honor situation again because you're talking about legal joints, and I was like, wait, was he in Colorado or something? There's a bowl of legal joints like, at this wedding. I'm not even sure that'd be
just
legal.
Indulge.
Yeah, just grab a handful. It'll be fine. Let's do it. Mellow wedding.
Yes, for those uninitiated, the legal joint is the official cocktail of Bowling Green. At least it's our official cocktail.
Yes, it is. And it's delicious.
And the official cocktail of the USS Wet Floater as well.
It can be, yeah. If we all want to agree on it, we'll have to take a vote.
Okay.
But it consists of rum, vodka, amaretto, and cranberry juice.
Wow, and it tastes good?
It's very good. I'll add a lime to it. You could also add orange juice to it.
That's true, because they always had the alternative methods at Brat House in Bowling Green. A little shout out there.
Yeah.
All right,
Not a
I
sponsor.
second then.
All right.
It
Third
passes. There we go.
Wonderful. All right.
Shall we?
Yeah. Let's get into this.
Okay. So just to ask, are you not going to be doing a sound effect today? For us to dive.
There we go.
Dang it. That's a missed that twice now.
You've missed it a whole bunch of times because you're off your game. And
I am.
You're basically, your head's out of the game.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on anymore.
What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Second Floor Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion.
But tell us about this movie. Do you have any fun facts about it?
About this movie?
Yeah.
Well, Alex, what movie did we all get to watch this week?
Well, it's called Dark Descent. I guess
Yeah.
it was made in 2002 and it stars Dean Cain.
Sure.
And you're in for a fun one, listeners. I'll tell you what. Current time is now 5:56 p.m. Ohio time.
4:56 Central Time.
Yes. This holds a whopping 3.5 on IMDb.
I'm going to spoil alert for our listeners. That's not good.
No,
Nope.
that's not good.
Nope.
It's out of 10.
Yeah.
It is out of 10, yes.
So, yes, like you said, it stars Dean Cain, who people might know from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman from the 90s. Scott Weiper, who was also in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, that's going to come back.
And then Biliana Petrinska.
Who played Ben, and she was in Hitman?
Yes.
I've seen that movie. It is not very good, but better than the newer Hitman. Hitman Agent 47. Or whatever
Oh,
it was.
okay.
That one was terrible. All right. So, shall we dive right in?
I don't think there's any other way to do it. You just got to dive in.
Is
Right,
this even
okay.
a submarine movie? Can we be honest? Just
All
throw this
right.
out
So
there.
it's pretty close. I mean, it's probably the least amount of submarine movie. Now, I think what we were tricked by is on the back of the DVD, it said he was part of the deep submersible team or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was that a thing, or did they just make that up for the DVD box?
All right. There's some certain things that you even look in the description, like about this, are like, ooh, a mining expedition in the Marianas Trench.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when did they ever mention they were in the trench?
Never.
Yeah.
And he goes even further down.
Yeah. I was like, what is this? But
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of stuff on the back of that DVD that was never mentioned in this film,
Yeah.
including the fact that he was supposed to be part of a submersible team and never once even talked about submersibles or did anything with submersibles or anything.
Well, they
at all.
did. Well, they
At
had
the
a little
very
bit,
at the
yeah.
end. I mean, there was 3 times that you see a submarine. He's on a submarine once, then a bunch of other people on a submarine later, and then he gets rescued by a submersible. He does not die.
Spoiler.
Alert. I'm sorry, listeners. But so there are 3 occasions where we get to see a submarine, but that's about it.
yeah, it was very deceptive.
Yes. So it's similar probably in the actual amount of time as something like Life Aquatic. We really got very little amount of, maybe even a little more in this one than in Life Aquatic.
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. All right, so we open with a funny time intertitle, as we've mentioned. It's just like, what is it, like 10:04 p.m. or something like that?
Yeah,
the first one. It's like,
totally.
It's 10 o'clock. It's like, cool, great. I'm glad I know that. I have no idea.
Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so we have a guy, Murdock, or as his badge says on his uniform, Murdock. I'm
I
not sure which
noticed
one it's supposed to be. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be Murdock, and then they just kept on calling him Murdock. And so he's the new sheriff in town, and I say that seriously, that this is essentially what seems like a Western. And so, like, he's a sheriff in town. There's some, like, outlaws, kind of, rough guys on the and basically saying, like, they've gotten away with murder, or almost literally gotten away with rape for a long time while on this mining place before Dean Cain's character, Murdock, has come into town. And now he's there and he's like, fuck this. I'm taking these motherfuckers out. And he goes down and they're basically raping a girl or multiple women.
Well, like, first all of a sudden a woman runs past who's naked and like all bruised and stuff.
Yeah.
And then another one's chasing her.
No actual breasts seen in this film, which was too bad. Considering how many times they swore, they would have gotten an R rating no matter what.
I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this might be the movie where, like, it's had the most intense language, I guess, so far, in anything we've seen.
And Agent Red did give you some breasts to stare at least a little bit. And this one didn't. This one skipped it. Yeah. That first scene, she had kind of a towel over. And then Ben, who's, kind of the love interest, if you want to call her that, I guess. She at one point is nearly nude, but we don't see anything. Anyways, they confront these three brothers, right? No, four brothers. One of them runs away. Yeah. So 4 people are there. And they're like, what are you going to do? But in Russian accents.
Worst Russian accents I've ever heard.
Which I was saying, I'm pretty sure they were Russian. Or they were at least, I think they were Eastern European actors. So
it was.
I couldn't tell if the accents were really bad or they were just so bad at acting that they were trying to. I don't know. It was just really.
I think they were bad at acting.
Very
there were
bad at
times
acting.
where they almost couldn't say the lines. Like they weren't saying things right.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if they actually are Russian, but they're just so bad at conveying the lines that they're just so out of their element that it doesn't sound like it's their real language.
So he's basically, it's like a little showdown, kind of like a Western, where he punches one brother out, one of the guys runs away, and then the guy's like, okay, we're going to put down our guns, and he turns around, he's like, schwink, and the guy, one of the brothers, pulls out a gun, and Dean Cain gets shot in the shoulder, but is able to take out the other guy.
Yeah, that's to snap a woman's neck during this.
Oh yeah, snap a woman's neck, so she dies, and then he kills one of the brothers, and one of the guys is like, no! And then we flash forward 4 years later, almost immediately from here.
At like 8:52 a.m.
Yeah, make sure 4 years later, 8:50 p.m.
Yes.
It's like, or a.m. or whatever. And so Murdock is getting transferred. He's finally getting off this mining thing, and they're in like a little shuttle of sorts.
Yeah, it's like an underwater monorail type transport.
And this makes no sense because at one point his friend Niles is like, oh, I forgot my badge. I got to go back to the room, and just stops this thing in the middle of the tunnel and then goes into another compartment. And it's like, where the fuck is he going? I'm so confused. He's like, I forgot in my room. Like, well, you'll have to take it back. We're on a little subway car.
Yeah, you're on a track. You just hop out.
Where are you going? And also, it's going 50 miles per hour. We're so far away from your room now. Just wait until we get there, and then you'll go back. But he goes out of the room, and we get a little scene with Dean Cain, and he's got some claustrophobia issues, and we'll delve heavily into that. But he kind of was like, oh, getting nervous. He's not liking this, and so he's like, fuck this, and goes into the next room where the guy had went, and oh boy. It is a surprise party, and we get like 5 goddamn minutes of a kazoo being like, like in our ear over and over again.
And we're going to roll that entire clip for you right now.
So congratulations.
I think we all know why we're here, which is to get really drunk really fast. But before we get to that, I think we have to listen to this turkey for a little bit. So,
thank you, Niles. Now, I think we all really know why we're here today, and that's to wish a fond farewell to the best damn marshal this plant's ever had.
Anyways, that was amazing.
For those of you that are still with us,
you're welcome. And so they have like they have a scene, and they're all terrible actors, but there's like the main like kind of manager of the whole mine, and he's like, and it's been going really great with Murdock here being our guy, and he keeps on saying jokes, but like it's not funny. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, and Niles is there, and they have a little scene with him and this woman that you don't know who she is yet. I've seen her briefly in the first like part of it, but she was actually dating Murdock for a while. But like now Niles is with her, but you can see that she like totally fucking hates Niles. She's like, get off of me. Like, oh, good, gross. And so they're like, and then Niles is also, they do a bunch of speeches and Niles is like, and now we're going to get really drunk. Smash cut to them investigating a suicide. I was like, wait, I thought you were just going to get really shit-faced.
Yeah.
What is this? And so they're talking with a guy and the person's like, oh no, it wouldn't have been like, this couldn't be a suicide. He has like a daughter and like a wife and he loves them and he never talked about this kind of stuff. He just, all of a sudden we were outside of the rig and he pulled off his helmet. And we see
what happened?
A little ghostly apparition that he sees, but he's hallucinating and he pulls off his thing and then he's crushed by the pressure.
Oh, I couldn't tell what happened because I thought like just blood. I thought his head like blew up or something.
No, he opens up his thing and then I think the idea is that they're so deep in the ocean that he gets crushed.
They should have been like, well, obviously you're at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Well, yeah, that's a good way to commit suicide in the Marianas Trench.
And they've been like, oh, now I know what we're doing.
Yeah,
well, not doing, but I know where we're at.
Right. And what time is it? Oh, now I'm all confused.
Yeah.
If only I knew what the time was. And so they are investigating this thing. They're like, it's definitely not suicide. And he's like, okay, I better check this out. And he finds like some drugs that the guy has been taking called Zalaban.
Because everybody's on this for like to help reduce pressure-induced psychosis, something like
it's
that.
to help with the pressure, yeah. And allow them to mine like what they say, like 3 miles down or something like that.
Yeah, and allow them to stay down there longer. And then all of a sudden we cut on over to a doctor who you can tell, bumped the mic. Yeah. You can tell is Russian because he's got Russian nesting dolls in his office. Like,
oh yeah.
I see. One of my favorite type of things. And there's a really weird quote here because like he's just sitting there working. All of a sudden, Dean Cain like is creepily staring at him.
Will, I didn't hear you.
That's because I was silently observing you to see if you displayed any abnormal behavior.
What the fuck is this?
So yeah,
what a weird line.
Yeah, so we'll get a lot more from this therapist, but he's definitely acting really shady, and you know he's the bad guy. And anyways, he's like, hey, I could totally analyze that for you. And Dean Cain's like, no, I'll get it analyzed myself when I go back up. And he's like, okay, that's fine. But just remember, I'm here in case you do need me to analyze it. And he's like, okay. And then we cut over to a sex scene between Niles and the girl, Bin, and they're basically having sex. And then Niles rolls over and he's like, I'm just not in the mood, I guess. And he's all like mopey because he's like, you know, I didn't get that big promotion, and I think it's because Murdock really is like jealous of me because I'm with you, and you broke up with him. And he's like, you did break up with him, didn't you? And she's like, oh, get out of here, fuck you. And he's like, oh man, well, maybe I'll come back later. And she's like, no thanks. And he's like, oh man. And so like that's over or whatever.
And then all of a sudden,
and then someone like her door is open because he leaves, and like just a random person pops in and it's just like, are you okay? And I was like, wait, who's that?
He's just got like a fly fishing vest on too.
He looks like a janitor or something.
Yeah.
And she's nearly nude on her bed, having literally 5 seconds before that she was having sex with someone. Mm-hmm. And now this person's like popping ahead and be like, hey, you okay? Hey, how you doing?
Was the sex good?
It is ridiculous. And so after this, Murdock is informed that his long lost nemesis from the first part is coming back. They don't really know how. They kind of imply, he got out on some.
This is weird.
They originally say that he got on an appeals process. Later that they said he was just bailed out for like $4 million or something like that, $40 million or something.
Yeah.
And so like, none of this makes actually any sense or cohesive sense, and they really don't say anything concrete about it anyways. But they're like, wait, how did he get out? This is all through a video feed with Zabka, the actor Zabka, who was the bad guy in Karate Kid. So now
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's also Oscar nominated. He
for this?
No, yes, obviously. Well, but he was also Oscar nominated for a short film in like 2003 or something. Anyways, if you
appeal in the U.S. and win the appeal to get a retrial, you're able to apply for bail again during the retrial process. So you can go from being a prisoner, but once you win an appeal and are going to get retried for the crime, you can get bailed out again if the judge offers bail.
Is this a character? Is this Brom Esquire right now?
Dude, this happened in the Marianas Trench. How do you know the U.S. even has jurisdiction?
I'm just giving an example. If they have the same judicial system and whatever period of time this is, but
Attorney General Brom over here. What a nerd.
I'm just giving you the deets.
And so he's told to skedaddle, get out of here, like Dean Cain.
But
like,
it also doesn't make sense because they know he's coming.
Around. Yeah.
But they can't stop him.
I don't even understand.
Oh, this guy literally killed somebody on the rig before, and we're just going to let him back on.
It's impossible for us to stop him. And he has friends on there. It's not like these are all in on like the conspiracy. It turns out to be a conspiracy, but like they're not all in on the conspiracy. The guy who's managing it could be like, no, fucking no, you're not docking. Like,
right.
That's it. We solved the problem. But the way they solve it is like, okay, he's going to get down here. We can't really stop it. It's all like through these shuttles and stuff like that, but you're going to get on a shuttle and you're going to get out of here. And so he gets on the shuttle and he's going away. So this is one of 3 scenes we actually get on a submarine because he's on this transport submarine, and they start moving away, and we get a little side event where a miner is also having hallucinations.
Or is this real?
I don't know. But he busts in. Oh yeah, he's seeing all these like weird like colorful worms or whatever.
Yeah, because he's jackhammering into some rock, and that's where we find out it's some kind of mining operation.
Yeah,
and then all that like glowing, shimmering green goo is like floating around.
Yeah,
and he walks up into the bunker and he's like, "Guys, check this out!" And then he takes the jackhammer to the wall. And that causes a big problem.
He kills everyone. A little door closes, like shuts to make sure the rest of the mining base isn't compromised, and shoots a very tiny stream of water through someone and kills them as well.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be, it's a little hint, foreshadowing for later on what he's going to do to kind of like defeat the bad guys. But at the same time, it's kind of funny to see.
I think that was the only point of that entire scene.
Yeah,
it's just so they can be like Dean Cain with this ice solution,
saline solution. Oh, keep on pumping this thing. And so he sees from the transport, Dean Cain, he sees like bubbles coming up from part of the thing. He's like, "Oh shit!" And the pilot's like, "Holy shit!" Like they've got like a big problem over there.
Fuck me.
Turn around.
Huh?
Turn around. We're going back.
I can't just turn around.
Turn around. We're going fucking back. I'm a federal law enforcement officer, and this is not a fucking request.
Yes, sir.
Do your pilot shit.
And I was like, yes, I'm now, that's 12 inches. I just got 12 inches in my pants and for this movie because that is amazing. And then, he's like, do my pilot shit. And he pulls out his dick and I'm like, not that pilot shit. And he's like, haha, it's a joke by me because it was about dicks. Anyways. And then they head back and, they're checking out, Niles is checking out the body and is like, oh shit, look at this guy. He got like totally fucked up. And Murdock comes up, and is like, oh, hey, like we got to take care of this. I'm back because I saw what happened. Like we got stuff to do. And they go into a little side room and Niles is like, yo, bro, I got your back. I'm like a sharpshooter. I know I've never actually seen action because I'm on like a mining operation and you're like a badass, so nothing's happened bad in like 4 years. But I've been doing these simulations that the FBI uses, and I am A1, the best, top like 6%. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dean Cain is like, fuck you. How dare you? And he's like, what? And he's like, you're just trying to get all up in this and get a recommendation from me for a promotion. And I don't like, grubbers like you coming around doing this. And I'm like, wait, what did Niles even do? He just offered to help. Like, I'm confused. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, maybe after I help take down a bunch of bad guys, you can maybe write me a recommendation letter since you're my mentor. Right. And he's like, fuck you. How dare you? It was like the weirdest thing. It's like, no, that's actually fairly reasonable. I think if he helps you defeat these bad guys, I think maybe writing a recommendation letter is maybe the least you could do. I don't know. It would also show that he's probably worthy of some kind of promotion. I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, I was very confused.
Why is this a problem?
Did you guys think Niles was the best actor in the show?
No,
I thought Dean Cain was.
Dean
you did like Dean over Niles?
No, Dean Cain is actually...
He was pretty good.
He was surprisingly good, given the material. And
he was my number 2. I like Niles. I thought he actually did a really good job.
Was it when he got totally...
this scene.
We were reamed out by Dean Cain right here, and then became all mopey and left. Which I thought for sure, I wrote down even like, this is just setting up the redemption of Niles, where he comes in at the end and like saves the day. It's like, nope. He just is basically drinks himself silly and gets on a transport out of there.
I thought maybe he was going to
again.
I thought he was going to side with the bad guys.
Maybe, yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, here we go.
I also liked it at this point when he kind of turns on Niles. Niles has this funny moment where he's like, what the? He's saying like, what the? But he like really trails his the. What the?
So anyway, then it immediately smash cuts over to that guy, Evans, who was the guy in the fishing vest who was like, hey, you doing okay after all the sex? And Dean Cain swearing him in as a marshal.
Yeah, so he's basically like, okay, I totally messed up my relationship with Niles. So you're now Niles. And the guy's like, cool, I'm Evans. I have no experience. This should be good.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, by the way, Ben is leaving, this random lady. And he's like, wait, Ben is leaving? And he kind of looks at a picture of his wife, who's not Ben, and is like, huh, weird. I feel weird about this.
And then he goes to the doctor because he's like, hey, I'm going to have these drugs analyzed by you. Doctor's like, oh, that's really weird. You said you weren't going to have me do it yesterday. Now you're back. Dean also says, by the way, I've been having these weird dreams, about my wife
and kid and the accident. And we're like, ooh, what accident? I'm like really drawn in at this point. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, what accident is this? And they have a whole therapy session where he's basically like, and I can't turn the car, but I'm there when she dies. And then he kind of drops the hint, like, in reality, I then get a call because I'm in bed with Ben at the same time, and that telling me that they have died. So he was basically having an affair with Ben at the mining base at the time that his wife and kid were killed in like a thing. He's holding like a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
And the therapist is
at this point you're like, what, are we supposed to feel bad for this guy?
I don't know. It seems like he's a dirtbag.
See, at this point, I didn't realize Ben was a female. So I
didn't know who it was.
Oh, you thought, was he like saying Ben and not Ben?
Yeah. Okay, whatever.
I was with Ben, and he's like, sexually. And then the therapist is like, you know what? This might be the root of your problem. And he's like, it might be the root of my impotence. It's like, no, your claustrophobia, dummy. Whatever. And he's like, they find out, and then the analysis finished, and it turns out to be just pure xyloban. He's like, no, it's pure xyloban. There's nothing like wrong with it. And he's like, oh shit. Okay, well, I guess I was wrong. Sometimes these things don't pan out. Like, thanks for the work you did. Like, whatever. And he leaves, and he heads over to a strip club
on the underwater base.
Yes, on the underwater base, and it's basically this Russian-run like strip club. And these guys have been kind of like harping about how like thank God Murdock's leaving because it was so like lame when he was like around keeping everyone out of trouble. And they're talking about odds on Murdock versus Vlad on like who's going to win the fight or whatever. And they're like, it's 22-1 for Murdock, and he goes 22-1 clam bake. I was like, is that a term? I'm so confused. Like, clam bake? What?
Pie on his face.
And he comes in, Murdock comes in, and it's basically like, hey, what's up, man? Like, oh, you taking bets against me? Like, whatever. And like punches him in the face. Police brutality, like all over the place. You're supposed to be like, cool, police brutality. And they have this funny thing where it's like, and what was the odds of me? And like, and someone just like off camera is like, smarts money on Kristoff.
The way I see it, the way we see it, it's you or Kristoff.
The smart money's on Kristoff.
You're like the weirdest voice. Well, smart money's on Kristoff. Like at one point, because Dean Cain was faced away from the camera, I was like, oh, is he must be doing that voice. He's like mocking someone else. Like I was like, oh no, that's just they thought it was someone else
off screen.
And so he kind of leaves. He sees Niles there, or sees someone else there, and he's like, oh, aren't you going to help me? And like, no one wants to help him. So he's all alone. And basically, the only person that's decided to help him is Evans and then Ben, who he doesn't really know is really going to help him, but she's like really worried about him.
Guys, I checked the Urban Dictionary real quick. Clam bake is the female corollary to the term sausage fest, a bar or club where the crowd is surprisingly and almost exclusively female, especially when you're looking to meet men.
Yeah, so it makes sense
in this context.
Because they're at a strip club that is on a mining operation that's fully male, so it's an obvious connection.
Clam bake.
So they're checking the tapes. At this point, he's checking the tapes in his bunk, and he sees that Vlad was able to get through security like no problem, even though they saw the gun. So it's a total conspiracy. And the person, Zebka on the other line is basically like, just hold out. They're coming at 3 p.m. That's why we need to know the times. They're coming if you can hold out by 3 p.m. till 3 p.m. like my guys will be there to pick you up. And he's like, okay. And and at this point I was kind of wondering when Ben was gonna ever like show up. And anyways, Ben calls him down to her bunk and it's basically
like, you need to get down here right now.
And so they talk together and it's useless. It's basically, she's like, get out of here. And he's like, I can't. And he's like, no, seriously, get out of here. And he's like, I can't. And I'm like, okay. And then they leave. And then Evans comes up and he's like, cool, so where everyone else? And Dean Cain's like, That's it. And he's like, well, fuck that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm alone now. And
Well, even Dean was like, you're probably going to get killed. I'm going to be better off going solo.
Yeah, and Evan at this point was like the most useless character I've ever seen in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he hops in like, hey, I'd like to join your team. And he's like, oh, fuck, we're going to die. I'm going to be off your team now. It's like, okay, what was the point of this? Just to walk in on someone having sex? And so anyways, he heads back over because he's realized something's totally off about all this stuff. And he heads back over to the therapist and he starts totally messing up his office. And
smashes the Russian nesting dolls.
His precious nesting dolls. And he finds out that actually, yes, there is a conspiracy about the Xyloban because they've been putting 4 times as much Xyloban as they used to do a little experiment. They want to be able to mine many, many more miles below the surface.
Because the biggest cost for the entire operation is transporting people back and forth.
Right.
So they can keep them down there longer. You can make more money.
Yeah. And so they've been dosing them with 4 times, but now they've seen that they're, totally going apeshit. And so like they know it's all fucked up. And so they need to kind of, it's weird that they were like, we need to get rid of Murdock, even though Murdock didn't know about this conspiracy until like 5 minutes before. Like they were already in the process of killing Murdock before he knew that there was a problem and he was leaving that day. Like they were already transporting away. Like nothing actually makes sense.
Right.
Like why would the company be so concerned about someone who was leaving that day to not be on duty anymore?
Right.
And he would have been tricked if they just didn't have Vlad coming because they would have analyzed it, been like, it's Xyloban. He'd be like, cool, see ya. And would have gotten his transport and left and nothing would have happened. And that would have been that.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like the plot makes no sense.
No,
not to harp on the plot. And so he's basically like, oh man, fuck you guys. You guys are going to fry. And it's like, okay, this guy, clearly Murdock doesn't know anything about white collar crimes. These people will not fry. They will go to Club Fed and probably be out in 5 years. So sucks for you.
Yeah.
And so, transport arrives. The people, the bad guys, get there.
And they all walk out and they have they stand in front of the camera and do like a pose.
He's like,
everybody does individually. You're like, what the hell is going on here?
And it's like, it is 12 to noon, perfect. And he's like, great. I'm glad I know it's noon. And so he goes down and he decides his big plan is he's going to cause a meltdown, get everyone off of there because if there's chaos, he doesn't want people dying. And so he just wants himself and these guys on the thing. So he sets up a meltdown. Basically, they go through this whole explanation of exactly what kind of like radioactive element they have. But the point is he starts a meltdown and it's supposed to be able to be reversible. He has the key. If he turns it, he can reverse it. Otherwise, it's like a small nuke.
This is also so stupid because he's like, oh, is this like a nuclear bomb going off? No. But it's like Hiroshima.
It's like
and
Hiroshima.
Like, what? Like, yeah, a nuke. What the fuck are you talking about?
I think the point was supposed to be that it's so far in the future that in fact, like Hiroshima's like not even a weapon. Like, it's just something shitty like Hiroshima. It's like, oh yeah, so it is. It's a nuke.
Yeah, it's a nuke.
Then he's like, oh, before you go, can you give me your saline solution? I was like, okay, if this is far in the future, that guy does not have saline solution, but whatever. Right. Probably his eyes self-water from some like medicine he took years ago or something. Like it's some special thing is going on.
Oh man.
And so, are we done? Oh, that was a terrible noise. What was that?
That was not the right noise. I don't know. This is all screwed up.
You're way
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to scrap this episode. We'll just start it over. Okay, so everyone take off your headphones. And so everyone's leaving now. Everyone's running.
If you listen to Mackey's Second Floor Studios presents Submersion and own an Android device, do me a favor.
And so everyone's leaving, and Ben realizes that he's not on a transport. He's staying behind, and so she stays behind as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they start the confrontation. So it's the end, and they're doing all kinds of crazy editing here, where like cameras flying everywhere. And he starts his showdown. So he's shooting at the first big guy, and gets like totally shot in the dick. And you're like, whoa, he got shot in the dick, for real, like straight
really
up.
Did,
you saw his dick fall off, and then it was real gross. And then
it was flopping on the ground.
Oh yeah, it was like a eel.
Scooted off screen.
Yeah, it was really good computer animation. Solid, probably $2 million that cost to make.
Yeah.
And so then he runs away from the big guy by going into the little subway area or whatever, and he's running away, and he kind of follows them, and then it turns out like the transport starts coming through. I'm not sure who's actually on the transport. Probably would have stopped in an emergency like that. Why is it still running? But anyways, like magnets kind of stop them from shooting each other, and then in the end, the one guy gets free at the last moment. The bad guy gets free at the last moment, and then smashed to little bits by the train.
Yeah.
And then he's all like still fucked up and kind of like struggling in this tube, and Ben comes and kind of saves him. And he's like, thank God you're here, but I got to get you off of this place because it's going to blow real hard when it blows up.
Yep.
And he calls up the main guy, the manager of the whole thing. Is like, hey, I got one more for you. Ben's still here. Like, okay, we can hold off, but man, we got to get out of here quick or else we're not going to be able to get out of the blast radius in time. And he's like, okay, I'll get you there quick. And so he runs with Ben to this area and they end up seeing the the small guy, small bad guy. And they're shooting. He's like, okay, you go and I'll be following right behind you. And I'm going to lay down some cover for you. So he lays down cover for her. She runs and she gets onto the submarine and they are like, we got to leave. And they leave without him. And so he's left on the thing all alone. There's no more transports. They're all gone. It really is like, this is the end. He's all alone. And so this is he's already used the saline actually to like kind of get away from someone. He like closed the door real quick using the saline. So they already know he can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. The doors like closed before to prevent all the water. He figured out somehow if you just spray saline on it, it'll have the same effect and shut the door automatically.
Yeah. And so he kind of tricks these bad guys by throwing the key out to stop the meltdown. And like the younger guy, he's like, go get it. And the younger guy goes and he like stretches out through this thing and gets chopped in half when he sprays some saline solution on him.
He didn't actually kill anybody with a gun other than the very beginning. He didn't need any of these guns.
You're right. And so then he's waiting for him. He gets the guy's gun from his half chopped in half body or whatever. And the thing opens back up and he shoots the other guy. And you're like, whoa, he just like shot all the bad guys in like a short time. Like how crazy is that? And then we see though, when he leaves, we see that one bad guy open his eyes real quick. And you're like, oh shit, he's
bulletproof vest.
He's a fucking zombie. Yeah. And you're like, oh wait, it could also be something more reasonable than that, but I wish
it was a zombie. Pretty cool.
And then probably with zombie with a bulletproof vest, because you still don't get a shot. I mean, it hurts even if you're a zombie.
I would think so.
You want to wear that vest.
Yeah.
And so then he goes to try to stop the meltdown and he's like, cool, time to stop this meltdown. He just turns it. He's like, definitely stopping. And then it's like, nope, didn't work. He's still melting down. He's like, oh shit. And I was like, wait, but that submarine transport said that if they didn't leave now, they wouldn't be able to get out of the blast radius in time. Yeah. So he's fucked. He's dead.
He is.
So anyways, he decides to run. He's like, okay, I got to get out of here. So he runs to this place where you can get into like one of those mining suits that they've shown.
Yep.
And he beats the shit out of the bad guy. So the bad guy seems to beat him up a bunch. And then he just like...
He pulls out a police baton and goes to town on him.
He's just like, nope, and beats him up. And shoves him away, gets into this thing, and the guy's like, no! And Dean Cain drops out of the bottom of the mining thing in like the suit and just starts falling. I thought for sure what they should have done is him take the Xyloban. He's like, okay, got to survive in this deep depths. He's like, take the Xyloban to save himself. But no, he just is able to, he falls for a while, and then the whole place explodes. And despite not being out of the blast radius, he's totally fine in this little suit. And then despite not being out of the blast radius, one of those submersibles they talked about with the guy's like friends comes and finds him and saves him. And they didn't seem to have a problem with the blast radius either, even though the other submarine said they should. And then the end, because that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. Really weird.
It's a crazy movie, and it's one of my favorite movies I've ever watched, so it's great.
Wow. Let's go ahead and start with your review then.
My review?
Yeah.
Okay. I am very prepared for this. So, what did I give Agent Red? I think it was a 1.
Yeah.
I believe, because then I was like, oh shit, I gave a 0. I have to give a 0 to Stinger. This is better. To me, this is better than Agent Red. I think it's funnier. I think it's weirder. I think it's got weird stuff going on, almost like what happens with bad movies like The Room, where you watch it and you're like, oh, I think I'm seeing like this guy's inner turmoil and like things that have happened in his life that he's decided to put to screen and kind of air out.
Yeah.
In like a movie format. And I feel like there were scenes in this where I felt the same way, where they were just like so weird with like, and I was with this woman when my like wife and, daughter or son or whatever got killed. And it's like, what a weird thing to have your main character do.
Right.
Oh, am I seeing into your mind? Like, why is this the case? And there's a case where like Niles is like just being like an okay person. And he's like, fuck you. And I'm like, did you have an employee that you didn't like or something, or someone that worked for you at some point? Like, It really is one of those films where you can start to like try to analyze who made it and being, is this a reflection of what you are? Because I feel like a lot of bad movies are like ego trips, kind of like whoever created it. It's like something that they really care about and make. And I saw it in there, and there's a lot of things to laugh at. I had a good time. I had an enjoyable time watching it. It is a piece of shit, so I can't give it too high, but I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Oh, after all that, you're only going to go 2.5.
Yes, because I'm trying to think. What did I give Mr. Limpet?
I don't know.
I feel like I gave it a 3.
You gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4, and I gave this one a 3.5, just before Mr. Limpet level. Because Mr. Limpet, I feel like it's like disappointed by something that's not trash. This is like trash that I wasn't disappointed by.
You also gave Steel Sharks a 3.5.
I gave it a 3.5?
Yeah, for reference.
Oh, so this is definitely a 3.5. Yeah, it's on the same level as Steel Sharks for me. So 3.5.
Okay.
Yep.
Alex, how about you?
Okay, I hated this movie. I actually sat through and watched all of it, unlike the last one where I stopped halfway through because I thought it was bad. First off, not a lot of submarine action, so I was kind of disappointed in that.
That's true. Good point.
The editing, I thought, was really bad. We've already touched on this a couple times. The time. It doesn't even matter that they kept throwing it on the screen, but then like they did
that in Enemy Hands. They did the same thing where they just kept on telling you where you were. It was like longitude and latitude, and it's just like this is meaningless to me.
I would rather know how far deep they are at that point, whether it's just 1 or 2 meters different. I wouldn't care, but like the thing is like. They would say it's like 10:45 p.m. or a.m. or whatever, and then he goes and talks to the doctor, and the doctor's clock says like 12:05. It wasn't even the same time.
Yeah,
so
it should have been like time till transport arrives.
Yeah,
it'd be like a countdown clock,
yeah,
and then time till meltdown.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. Yeah, I'd like that. And then you can obviously tell that I thought the set was really bad because they did a lot of walking around these same corridors.
Yeah,
yes.
And you see this a lot in like TV shows where they're just walking around aimlessly in halls. So they just make 3 left turns and then go down the same hall they first started in. I kept noticing that kind of stuff. It was just really annoying to me. So overall, I didn't like it. I gave, what was the worst movie? I didn't even watch Stinger, but I figured that would be the worst.
I got the scores pulled up here.
Agent Red is 0.69.
And you gave Blow a 0.7.
Yeah, I gave Blow a 0.7. And I kind of want to put this right in between both of them. So 0.695.
Perfect. I will say I do want to agree with you on the set thing. But there's mockbusters, movies that try to like make money off of other bigger movies that come out. And there's one called Transmorphers that released when Transformers came out. And that one, the sets really reminded me of Transmorphers. And Transmorphers is one of the saddest things I've ever watched in my life. It made me sad to watch. I was like, oh God.
Maybe we'll watch that one for next week.
No, because there's no submarines in it.
Brom, how about you, man?
I'll keep it pretty quick. I seeing or rather hearing the name of it, and then some of the evidence here, I thought it was going to be like an Alien, movie again.
Yeah, I thought so too.
More sci-fi. You had the spirit walking through the water, and the guy getting like his throat slashed or whatever, and then you had the crazy excavation where they found the slimy glowing goo. I was thinking it was going to build up to some supernatural phenomena. Instead, it was very terrestrial. It was just kind of a revenge porn where the guy's coming back to get the cop that killed his brother. And
I'm not sure you know what that means. Revenge porn.
No, I do. We used the term earlier with which movie was that? Revenge porn. Where I was teasing if you like revenge porn. I forget which one it was.
I don't know.
It was one of I tweeted it, but regardless, this one fell flat. It was lousy movie with lousy acting and kind of a lot of plot holes and poor story. I'm going to give it a 2.
Very nice.
Oh, okay. I'll continue on here. Like you mentioned, Brom, I thought this was going to be some kind of sci-fi type thing, especially with the ghost flashing and the green goo. I would have really enjoyed to see something kind of like The Abyss. To me, this is the poor man's Abyss without aliens, if that even works.
It did remind me some of The Abyss.
Yeah. Some of the stuff was downright funny when you're watching it. That kazoo scene, like you text me about that, and I thought, all right, is it really going to be like that prominent? It definitely is.
Yeah.
Especially when like you mentioned, Jamie, he's like, just do your pilot shit.
Do you pilot shit? Just to tell the listeners, it is 5:32 Central Time right now.
Scandalous.
Yep.
6:32 Eastern Time.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So for me, it was like, there have been movies that I've been just getting through. This one, I was like, okay, I can semi-watch this one. It's got some funny stuff. It's not good, but it's watchable. So I'm going to go with a 2.75.
Very nice.
I thought you were going to throw a 6 out there for a second.
Yeah.
It's like a 7 or 12.
Yeah. So what did you find on this one? Oh, yeah. So we were looking up with the definition of revenge porn. I know it was a joke.
Murphy's War was the one that I called a revenge porn.
Well, that's revenge porn is a nude photograph or video which is publicly shared online for the purpose of spiteful humiliation. So I guess, yes, this is revenge porn against Dean Cain, probably, because it was released as revenge for something he has done we just don't know.
Yes.
I forgot. There was one scene I really, really hated, and it was the one, I forgot to mention this, where Miles was quitting. Or it was his name? Niles, sorry.
Niles.
I thought it was Miles too when I watched it. I thought I kept calling him Miles.
When they go to that back room and they start talking, and I thought they were going to come up with a sweet plan, and then he just ends up quitting, and Dean Cain gets all pissed off at him. But in the background, like, this stuff just triggers me when I'm watching movies. There's a little red flashing light, like it keeps going back and forth, and then the next shot it would show Dean Cain talking, and it switches to green. And then back to red out of nowhere. And then for a couple of the shots, the light just wasn't even on. Like, it was just that bad. Whoever was editing this was clearly blind and did not know what the hell they were doing. And it ticked me off. And then on top of it, he just storms out of the room. I think we mentioned this before. I thought he was going to come back and try to help or do something.
Yeah,
But
I thought he was going to at least have some kind of payoff. It's the same thing with the conspiracy as a whole. Like, the conspiracy as a whole has no payoff. Everyone involved basically dies. He won't really be able to get anyone in trouble. The evidence is virtually gone.
Yeah, it's just totally destroyed.
Anything or any wrongdoing, no one's going to get their comeuppance. He's not going to be able to do anything with it. It's just like such a funny little thing. It has no payoff at all for this conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a vast conspiracy against him for no reason, because he was leaving that day, literally that day.
Yeah.
So weird. Why? This plot makes no sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just wanted to get that out there. So
I'm going to be doing trivia. Now, I will be open to our listeners. There was no trivia for this movie. So I had to reach a little bit. And so you'll see kind of how I did that. So I'm going to start with one that's, kind of trivia. It comes from the credits. It was dedicated to a woman named Janine Clark. She was one of the producers. And she died in 2001 in an automobile accident in Sofia, Bulgaria. And that's actually where this was being filmed along with 2 other films. So she was working on 3 films at the same time, all being filmed in Sofia, Bulgaria, and was killed in an automobile accident. So they dedicated to her. Actually, also, it's probably a lot of the actors probably were Bulgarian, or as I said, Eastern European or whatever. It's all being filmed in Bulgaria.
That would make more sense.
Okay. So a whole bunch of places talk about this, whole bunch being the few places that actually talk about this movie in any capacity, but they talk about it as a ripoff of the Sean Connery film Outland. Ever heard anyone watch that?
Nope.
Yeah, no. See, but okay. Before I get to the synopsis, first, Sean Connery impressions. Go.
You're out of your mind, dude. I can't do
that was great. It was like Sean Connery was in the room. You're out of your mind. That's like Sean Connery. You're the dog man now, dog. Right?
Suck it, Trebek.
Yeah, and like The Rock. It's welcome to The Rock.
Well, what's the difference between a mallard and a goose? I forget how the rest of the joke goes, but your mother's a whore.
So, okay, second.
We haven't made it this far, but I was going to say 1 ping only.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We haven't watched that one yet.
I haven't watched that one yet. All right.
Okay, so second, let's look at the plot summary. Okay, an honest marshal in a corrupt mining colony on Io, Jupiter's sunless third moon, who is determined to confront a violent drug ring even though it may cost him his life. After his wife angrily deserts him, he waits alone for the arrival of killers hired by the company to eliminate him. Futuristic remake of High Noon. All right, so it's actually a remake of High Noon. So let me talk about High Noon. We've got to go through that synopsis too. Okay, so before we get to that though, that was starring Gary Cooper. So first, Gary Cooper impressions. What do we got?
I'm Gary Cooper.
Oh, hey, I'm Gary Cooper. That was good, right?
Yo, you guys know me. I'm Gary Cooper. What's up?
Yeah, that's good. That was
what
good
you
too.
talking about, Willis?
Gary Cooper. Wrong Gary, I think. And so let's look at the plot summary. Former Marshal Will Cain is preparing to leave the small town of Hadleyville, New Mexico with his new bride, Amy, when he learns that local criminal Frank Miller has been set free and is coming to seek revenge on the Marshal who turned him in. When he starts recruiting deputies to fight Miller, Cain is discouraged to find that the people of Hadleyville turn cowardly when the time comes for a showdown, and he must face Miller and his cronies alone.
Oh,
so these are both basically the exact same plot of this film, except you're basically stepping down in quality. So you go from High Noon, which is like a classic, down to Outland, which we hadn't heard about, but sounds actually kind of fun, and then Dark Descent, which is a pile
I'm
of
gonna
shit.
look for Outland right now.
Okay. All right, so this was called Descent into Darkness on IMDb. But I can't find that name anywhere. Like, this was clearly produced as Dark Descent and released as that on the DVD. So I'm not sure where IMDb gets that name. Anyways, also IMDb has the main character credited as Murdock, Murdock, yet his name is clearly Murdack on his uniform. So IMDb, get your shit together, okay? Fuck you guys. All right, so this is the only directing venture by a guy named Daniel Knauf, although for whatever reason he chose to be credited as Wilford Schmidt for this film.
Probably want his name attached to this.
Probably took his name off the project, is my guess. He is primarily involved in TV, including being the executive producer for shows like The Blacklist and Carnival.
Really?
Yeah.
Blacklist is really good.
And then the real oomph for this film, though, comes from writer and producer Philip J. Roth. His filmography is extensive and mostly consists of low-budget sci-fi films. We should also just have his podcast instead of this one where we just watch all his films because they sound hilarious. Here's an example. APEX stands for Advanced Prototype Exploration Unit. In post-apocalyptic, war-torn 2073, a scientist from another timeline must help a resistance group stop the army of indestructible Apex Terminator robots he'd mistakenly created, even if it means risking erasing himself from existence. I'm not sure this producer's making original content.
Yeah. Even got the word Terminator in there.
He made this one, an Apex about a Terminator robot. Like, I feel like he's just ripping off stuff. Yeah. So it's pretty funny. And then finally, basically for a film that had no trivia, I got a lot of trivia together.
Yeah.
Dean Cain is obviously famous for Lois and Clark. Terry Hatcher is Lois in that series. Now, she's probably best known at this point for that and Desperate Housewives, but she was also one of many actors that appeared on the show Seinfeld before gaining wider fame. So she was the one who he couldn't figure out whether she had fake breasts or not. And then at the end, she goes, "Oh, and by the way, they're real and they're fabulous." And she leaves. Anyways, who else who also appeared in Seinfeld early in their careers would have been good in this movie? What about Jeremy Piven?
Oh, Jeremy Piven.
I gotta look him up. I'm not know.
What's that?
I gotta look him up. How do you spell that?
You don't know who Jeremy Piven is?
Jeremy Piven?
Entourage? Of Entourage fame?
I'd put Jeremy Piven as Evan.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, I feel like he could be Niles because he can definitely do a dickish thing where he could have been like a real dickish Niles.
Yeah,
or he could have been also the manager of the whole thing.
We need an older guy for that.
Yeah,
that guy sucked. He was a terrible actor.
He was really bad. Really bad. He was supposed to be telling jokes all the time. He was supposed to be like a funny character. I'm like, you are not funny because you're like stumbling over your lines. All right, Bryan Cranston. What about Bryan Cranston?
I put Bryan Cranston as the guy we just talked about. Running the mining.
Okay. That sounds pretty good.
What about Dr. Petro?
Oh, the doctor would have been a good one too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about Rob Schneider?
Maybe there's your Evans right there.
I think that's Niles. He's like kind of a dick. He's like he wants to go up in the world, but you're like, come on, you're Rob Schneider. You're not going anywhere.
I want to be a leading actor.
He's richer than I'll ever be.
Terrible.
So whatever. What about Deborah Messing of Will and Grace fame? To give you a little
Tokyo Rose.
Oh, good one. That's a good one. And also, that is totally sexist. I would think she's been because she's hot and take out her boobies. That's not sexist at all.
She does not have boobies. That is very sexist of me to say, but she is very flat.
All right. She's also a beautiful woman, a beautiful older woman, and I think you can do whatever you want, Deborah Messing. And you should be paid exactly the same as all your male co-stars. And probably more. Actually, more for the new Will and Grace, probably. Okay, and finally, appearing many times on Seinfeld, Ed Harris.
Well, that's your Dean Cain right
Yeah,
there.
That is your
Dean
100% Dean Cain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a marshal, not going to take shit from nobody.
Right.
He's going to be like, get out of here. And he'd probably be one of those cases where like he has to hide in like the vents or whatever to get away from the bad guys. He's like, got to grease myself up. And he pours some grease all over him and slides right in there. And he's just slip sliding all over in the vents and stuff like that. And you're like, ooh, I'm loving this movie.
Slides way too fast and busts out a vent onto somebody.
I'm like, it's a 12-inch sub right here. I'm enjoying this film, right guys?
Or he could have been, if you'd have left Dean Cain in there, he could have been the marshal who was coming down to assist and like is just a regular gunslinger.
Yeah.
And then he just lays everybody to waste.
And also shoots Dean Cain because he's useless.
Yeah.
Would he
Enjoy
be wearing the same
retirement.
outfit as what Dean Cain wore in this? That annoying
no,
little
he would be-
bubble
That
vest
collar that
thing?
goes up past his ears.
Yeah.
No, he'd be wearing a full cowboy suit. So he'd have like a cowboy hat and it'd be like him in Appaloosa or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
I'm the marshal, y'all. Ed Harris.
All right. And so we're going to do a quick Phantom Zone because this actually turned out to be shockingly easy.
Engage the Phantom.
Phantoms engaged, sir.
So somehow Scott Wiper, who was Niles, he's in a grand total of 7 films as an actor. One of those is Pearl Harbor, which is part of the cycle, which immediately has Billy Fichtner in it. We can just go straight to Phantom. I don't know how that happened. It's crazy. So I don't know. But
He's
also
only in 7 movies?
Yeah, 7 total as an actor. And then weirdly, the guy who played Vlad, the bad guy, was also in the Steven Seagal film Submerged.
No way.
Yeah, and Seagal was also part of that big cycle in Under Siege. So we can go jump straight into that one and go from there back
Really?
to Phantom as well. So this is like a cheapo Dean Cain film, and yet I was able to get back to Phantom like multiple ways. I didn't even try that hard. I could have probably found more ways to get back.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Stinger. Like you can't even have one person other than someone in like the visual effects. Nothing. That's it. Stinger's the worst.
Yes.
It's the moral of every story. Every episode, the moral of the story is Stinger's the worst. So
Agreed. All right.
alrighty.
It's time. It's world wide. So, as we mentioned, this movie takes place at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Does it?
Yeah, maybe. This is our last, submersible month episode. Thank God we're getting back into normal sub stuff.
How long was the submersible month? It seemed like it was
Very long.
like 7 weeks or something.
Yes. We're on one of those moons in Interstellar or some stuff like that.
The third
7
sunless
weeks,
moon of
2
Jupiter.
submersible movies. I guess.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to talk about the Deepsea Challenger that actually went to the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Whoa.
And who was it piloted by, you guys know?
Oh, I know, but I'm not going to say it.
Nope.
Any
Don't
guesses,
know.
Brom?
Don't know.
No.
I'm going to give you a hint. We watched one of his films. He was the director.
Oh, Steven Spielberg.
Perfect. It was Steven Spielberg. No, it was James Cameron.
James Cameron. So, this thing was designed to reach Challenger Deep, the deepest known point on Earth. James Cameron dove down to the bottom March 26, 2012. He reached the floor in 2 hours, 36 minutes. It's the 4th dive to ever reach Challenger Deep, the 2nd manned dive, and the 1st solo dive, and the 1st dive to actually spend a lot of time down there. I think he was down there for 3-ish hours. You might be asking, well, Kyle, how deep is Challenger Deep?
How deep is Challenger Deep?
Well, Jamie, it's very deep. 6.77 miles down, or 35,756 feet.
Wow.
Yes.
Woo! That's
pretty
like
darn deep.
How many Everests could you fit into that?
I don't know.
I think it's just less than 2 or something.
Oh, okay.
Anything, something like that.
Whatever. All right.
1.75? I don't know. Something like
Yeah. So this thing was donated to a place that I'd mentioned before, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute.
Love it.
In July of 2015, though, it was being transported by a truck, and the truck carrying it ended up catching fire because there was some kind of malfunction with its brakes. So the submersible was damaged.
Had one of those new Samsung phones. They were like, oh, shit.
I used to have one of those. I loved that phone. And it was in 2016, it was moved to California for repairs.
So is it still undergoing repairs now, would you say?
Oh, it says online that it's active.
Oh.
So I don't know like how many dives you use this thing for. I don't know what you really do with it other than say we went to the bottom. But the length of this thing, 24 foot long, uses an electric motor, has 12 thrusters on it. You can cruise along at 3 knots, or you have an endurance of 56 hours. When they did the test depth, it says it goes to 36,000 feet, but if the deepest point on Earth is 35,000 feet, I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know how that works.
And the pilot sphere, like the little area you're in, is only 43 inches around.
Oh my God.
So you gotta be okay with tight spaces.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If they came to you right now and they said, Kyle, you are a podcast superstar. You have legions of fans clamoring for your, insight on submarine culture and submarines and how they work.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give you the next dive down to Challenger Deep.
I would be on a plane in an hour and a half.
So you would do it?
Oh, yeah.
You would actually do it?
Oh, yeah.
I would 100% not do that.
Why?
I would probably go insane, and then it would malfunction, and I'd die, and I would not want to.
You'd have pressure-induced psychosis.
Probably. So I would.
But you're only you only got a little tiny area. You can't really move around too much in there.
I think the big thing is I'm a coward, so
I would do it, and then I'd have a really good in with James Cameron, and then I could bring him on the show. Be like, "Oh, hey, we're both Challenger Deep divers. What's up?" He'd be like,
"He's like, oh, that's weird because
I don't know what you're talking about there. Oh, yeah.
I looked at the logs, and it seems like I actually went 2 feet lower than you. So fuck you. How about that?"
I'd be down there with I'd have a little shovel attachment on there digging down.
We do have some Tim Hortons. He's like, ooh, some Tim Hortons, eh?
Maple syrup. Beavers.
Oh, you go check the hockey game there.
Yeah, cool. Oh, Minnesota. The Wild playing? You're like, I don't know.
I'll have to get a Mountie escort back to my house.
Sorry, Canada. We apologize.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. Okay.
Mustard Man, you got any awesome news for us?
Well, it's kind of a slow week in sub news. There was a news article that have came out that there was an incident that happened on January 12th. So what is that? Over 7 months ago.
Okay.
We'll take it.
But the article just came out yesterday, I guess, from a Freedom of Information Act inquiry. Somehow a Navy guy on a submarine shot himself with a gun and took him 7 hours to get him off the sub and then to help.
Wait, where was this? Do they say?
They don't say.
Because there was that
thing
that happened a bunch of months back where they said they had to get someone
lost
off
their hand.
Right, but do you think that was a cover for what they're talking about here? As they shot himself with a gun instead of actually getting his hand caught in something? Because it was a similar story where they had to get him off real quick and they had to surface near Spain or something, right?
Yeah.
No, this one happened close to the States because they got him back to, according to this, Fort Trumbull, which is someplace in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
So, but still took 7 hours, I guess. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Sounds like the Navy's doing some shady stuff because he was removed from the list of people allowed to hold a gun on a submarine, and then he got put back on and then taken off, and then he ended up getting shot. Or that he shot himself, but they're not saying it wasn't a suicide attempt. I don't know. Sounds all very interesting.
They have a list of people who are allowed to have guns on there. They're like, okay, captain, obviously. He's got that gun in that pants, but he's also got to have the gun in his hand. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, okay, 2, military police. Check. Okay, great. They're like, 3, general sharpshooter and gun enthusiast. Perfect.
Gun enthusiast.
It's like, oh, cool. I'm the guy in here. I can use gun. And he just keeps on swinging around like, whoa, whoa, put that away. Like, you should really put the safety on at least.
He's got a revolver and he's just, look at all these spin tricks I can do.
He's like, oh, did you have safety on? Like, safeties are for bitches. Yeah. Fuck you guys.
I can't imagine how loud that is, man. Firing a gun in a sub.
They said they found him in the torpedo. They said he was in the torpedo room. So
he was in the torpedo
I feel like that's
room?
a pretty dangerous place.
It's probably, we should really think about this when we put Brom in there. We should make sure to take away his guns because we don't want any accidents happening. I'm so bored. I'm going to take out my gun.
Yeah.
See how fast I can spin it. Yeah. Oh, I can spin it real fast.
Yeah. Good Lord.
And then just another quick little fun story. Like I said, it's been a pretty slow week with sub news from what I can tell. But have you guys heard of the Nintendo Switch? I take it you have.
Mm-hmm.
They have something called Nintendo Labo, which is like for laboratories. You could make a whole bunch of different stuff and music, and they've got a new one coming out here where it'll let certain players captain airplanes, cars, and submarines.
No.
Wow.
So, so for $70, it looks like you'll be able to hop on the Switch and go underwater and be a captain of a sub with it.
I don't have one yet, but that might have just sold me.
Yep, exactly. So if anyone out there listening is on the fence about getting one, here's your time.
Good.
Does this coming out September 14th? When is this? July? So depends when you're listening to this.
It's actually 5:52 p.m. Central Time.
Oh, thank you. Yes, 6:52 here.
There we go.
Yep.
3:52 Pacific time.
Yep.
I also want to jump. I want to jump in a little bit and just say that there was 2 trailers released this week for films that feature submarines coming out soon.
Oh yeah.
First one was Aquaman. You can see in the Aquaman trailer him not only being on a submarine or maybe a submersible. Not sure. You have to really do the deep investigation of that. But there's clearly something where he enters a submarine at one point to kind of fight bad guys. So we're gonna have a bunch of sub action in that Aquaman film, and then. New poster and trailer dropped for the Gerard Butler Hunter Killer. Looks like a straight-up action film from the makers of Olympus Has Fallen. It looks crazy.
It does. It looks awesome.
And terrible and at the same time. And I can't wait for it to be a perfect crossover episode for BadMovieTwins.com where we do Hunter Killer. And we're also doing it on this one. And we can just go to town on it.
Dude, wait till that wins Best Picture.
It will
Best
not.
It's going to be awful.
Best soundtrack.
No, that would be that would be amazing. Like, imagine it comes out and they're like, this is actually really good. And it's like, there's Gerard Butler, Oscar buzz right now. Hunter Killer, you should see him. It's the nuance.
It's gonna be one of my beer and wings films.
100%.
You say that now, but wait till you watch it and you're just blown away.
You're like, fuck these wings, fuck this beer, because I got to be
Alex
sober
is excited.
focused.
I'm excited for that. We also got the Meg coming out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and what's so funny is my wife never likes to go to movies. Never. She barely watches movies at all. I watch a movie, I show her movies, and she'll be like, this is boring. And there's like so occasionally she's like, I actually kind of like that. And like, so she's very particular in exact tastes. One of those tastes is shark movies. Like, she loved The Shallows, and she loved like whatever those other ones that come out. And she saw a preview for the Meg and has been multiple times to said like, we're going to the Meg. And I'm like, this is so weird. I love this. It's like the one genre you love is like sharks in films.
Where did she land on Piranha 3D?
I don't think she saw that one, and she probably would think it was too crude. The other thing is we watched a little bit of Jaws when it was July 4th because they show it all the time on TV, and she was like, this is boring. And we were just like, okay, we'll change your channel. That's it.
Gosh, do you think that would be like right in her wheelhouse, man?
Well, I think the problem is it's just too slow now, right? It's just not the same type of thing. Like The Shallows really is just like nonstop kind of like action. Yeah, with a little heart. And I think the Meg will be that way too. Jason Statham probably is like, oh man, I'm missing my daughter. He probably looks at a picture and is like, oh man, I really miss her. Perfect Jason Statham impression. You're welcome, guys.
It sounded just like him. Man, I can't wait. See that in IMAX. Woo!
I hope it's really badly reviewed, but I'll still go see it. Oh, God, that'd be the best.
I'm seeing it no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Mr. Brom.
That's me.
Oh, that's his catchphrase. That's his catchphrase.
Yeah. That's me. Is, what tube's ready to fire?
Tube 3 ready to fire, sir. Now do we have to hear that twice? Tube 3 ready to fire, sir.
Commence the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Give it to me.
Well, this week, a little quick fact for you guys. I don't know if you know this, but big fan of Dean Cain. Growing up,
Yes.
my family, we would all sort of call him Ed Harris Jr.
Ooh.
And
That's a Zach fact right there.
So this week, we saw him probably at some of his worst. We're gonna give him a pass on this. Every actor, signs on to a bad project every once in a while, but he had some real gems across his prolific acting career. So these are my top 5 Dean Cain films.
Oh, I love this.
All right, so let's start with number 5. Number 5 is going to be the family hit "The Dog Who Saved Easter."
Ooh.
IMDb.
Now, spoiler alert. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did the dog save Easter in the end?
He did, in fact, save
Oh.
Easter. There's not really any major plot twists in this one.
Okay.
IMDb score of 3.8. Pretty respectable.
When was that made? Do you know?
Yes, it was a 2014 film. It's Easter, and everyone's favorite canine is back. The Bannister family are heading out on a family cruise and sending Zeus to doggy daycare. Everything is going according to plan until the daycare's crosstown rival hires a trio of crooks to sabotage the fledgling business. Zeus will make some new friends and new enemies as he uses all his tricks to save the daycare and Easter.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That sounds like the most contrived garbage plot I've ever heard.
It's amazing.
Number 4, this one you guys might have seen as well. Very popular film, The Dog Who Saved Halloween.
Oh, okay.
This is a 2011 film, scoring a 4.3 on IMDb. Pretty much, I don't even know if I need to read the whole plot synopsis. Just change out Easter for Halloween, and you've got the.
Wait, is he also in doggy daycare in that one?
There's no doggy daycare in this one.
Okay. Are there still people trying to sabotage something?
It's a haunted house this time.
Oh, they're trying to sabotage a haunted house?
Yes, they get trapped in the spooky house, and only Zeus is left to save Halloween.
Wow. I'm gonna say just like a open free market kind of thing, like. One haunted house going down is not going to ruin Halloween. I mean, there's probably a bunch of competitors, and even if it went down totally, the free market would say that a new one would come in.
I think this was a real haunted house. I think that's like a story. It's a truly spooky house.
That's a little tougher
with ghosts.
Because it is tough to get those ghosts in. They have a really good union, and it's hard to be able to pay them adequate wages while also maintaining that sliver of profitability,
I have heard all of that in
I am pro-union, though. I don't want to throw things off for our listeners. I am pro-union. So there we go.
Very pro-union, very pro-woman, it sounds like.
Yes, for sure, 100%.
Number 3, The Dog Who Saved Christmas. 2009, 4.7 IMDb score. We're going up. Scores are just
none of these feature submarines, right?
Does not feature a submarine, unfortunately. Does feature Mario Lopez, though.
Okay, so I think this probably will have to fit in as a submersible episode when we watch all these films.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he saves like a beach vacation, and they were touring like a submarine, and the submarine detaches from dock, and he has to save the family or something like that. That could be in the works.
I think we should. It's in the works now because I'm working on it. So,
number 2 is okay. So number 3 was The Dog Who Saved Christmas. Number 2 is The Dog Who Saved Christmas Vacation.
Oh, you got to save both. If you're going to save one, you got to save the other.
Right. So 4.3.
That seems like. I'm going to be honest with you. It seems like they were really stretching just for that buck. I don't want to.
Have you watched it?
I don't want to slander their name and say they were really just trying to get a buck out of parents or whatever. But that sounds like they were maybe stretching for it.
This literally came out the year after The Dog Who Saved Christmas. Let's see if there's anything here juicy. Looks like they are at a beautiful Rocky Mountain resort in this one.
Are people trying to sabotage the resort?
There is a familiar pair of bumbling jewel thieves, and the holiday may be headed downhill fast. Can Zeus solve the crime, save Bella, and hit the slopes all in time for Christmas Day?
That is my aspiration. Me and Kyle need to somehow be cast as bumbling jewel thieves in some kids series or whatever.
Yes,
and then we just get paychecks all day long from being bumbling jewel thieves. I feel like we'd be pretty good at it.
We could be.
You'd be kind of like, oh man, and I'd be like, oh man.
That'd be our catchphrase.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh boy, howdy.
Oh boy, howdy.
Oh boy, duty. Laugh track.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
I sure do hope this dog doesn't ruin my day as a jewel thief.
He'll never get us, Jamie. We're the best. Will we be?
Oh man,
the Bone Bandits.
Yes.
The bone.
Writing itself. Click, clack, 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 clack.
The boner champs. I do have an honorable mention tonight before I get to number 1. Our honorable mention is going to be The Dog Who Saved the Holidays.
Right, we saw that one as we were looking through the IMDb.
Scored a 5.0, came out in 2012. had our familiar bumbling thieves in that one. But number 1 is The Dog Who Saved Summer.
I saw we saw that. We were going to mention that in the very beginning of it. Although we have some other ones that we've seen that we want to give some honorable mentions to as well.
Okay, I probably should have just called an audible and made number 1 just like an actual movie, like the one with Denzel or something.
Yeah. But yeah, the Dog Who Saved Summer, is that one about bumbling jewel thieves, or is the jewel thieves in that one as well?
I don't know. Let's see what we got here. Wow, very long synopsis.
It's way too long.
So we're gonna skip that. Oh, yep, the trio of bumbling thieves is back.
Oh, good. Oh, there's that opening. So we just have to kill those actors, and then we can take their place.
Great.
Perfect. But yeah, we wanted to mention at the very least, the Three Doggeteers. Three Doggeteers, which is a play on Three Musketeers for all you non-literary people out there. That seemed like it was pretty hilarious. And then coming out soon was Andy the Talking Hedgehog. Starring Dean Cain.
The plot is unknown at this time.
It's unknown at this time. So it's still coming out.
Be?
I don't even know. Andy the Talking Hedgehog. What could it be about?
There are movies that
Tara
are
Reid
out.
and Dean Cain.
Yeah, Tara Reid and Dean Cain. Although Tara Reid plays the fairy BFF. Cool. Sounds awful. Actually, that just made me really sad. Oh, God. All right.
He's in a movie called Baby Bulldog, where he's a judge.
He really does a lot with animals.
There's a lot of dog movies here.
A lot of animal stuff. Oh, well. Yep, it looks like he is, he was on his way up with Lois and Clark, and then
Horse Camp.
Just continue Horse Camp. Has just continued that trajectory. Just up, never stopping.
When Kathy arrives at Horse Camp, she realizes she must deal with Stacy, the resident mean girl.
Oh, no.
As competition heats up, Kathy learns to recognize the true value of real friendship.
And that friendship is with Dean Cain. Weird.
Horse Camp.
Horse Camp. Horse Camp, rated R. Alrighty. So, we got anything else? I got some Zach facts. Any Zach facts for anyone?
No. I don't think so.
The opening credits cost about $50 million to make.
Dean Cain thought of the plot of this film when he was at Princeton. True story. And let's just make mouth noises for a while.
I want to say real quick, if I'm reading this metric correct, Dean Cain's highest rated movie that he was in is the Out of Time with Denzel, and it scored a 6.5 on IMDb, and he has been in a lot of movies.
Really?
Oh, dude, Horse Camp got a 6.4.
Oh, is that right?
Shoot.
Oh, wow, it was really close.
What about Rat Race? Rat Race is really good.
Is he in Rat Race?
Yeah, he's in Rat Race.
Rat Race.
I need to watch Rat Race. I just watched the original Cannonball Run movies.
You've never seen Rat Race?
No, I saw.
Oh my gosh, this movie's great.
I watched Cannonball Run and Cannonball Run 2 recently, and they were both trash. So,
all right, what team is he on in Rat Race? I can't remember.
He's not. He's
a bad guy.
He's the boyfriend of the one girl that's flying the helicopter. And they fly over the house, and Dean Cain's in the pool with some other girl, and she goes all crazy on him and starts throwing wrenches out of the helicopter at his truck. Oh, and then they start racing around, and she's chasing him in the truck with the helicopter.
That's Amy Smart doing that, right?
Yeah, that's Amy Smart. Yep.
This movie is great. Rat Race.
I'm glad we have something to cut out at the end of this podcast. I was talking about Rat Race for a while.
Dude, I can't believe you've never seen that. You need to grow up.
It's really good.
Well, I got to watch the other ones first because there's a Mad Men World. There is Cannonball Run. There's Cannonball Run 2. And then there's some other ones too, right? Or $1 Million Movie and like some other ones that are all like races across country.
You've never seen Mad World?
I have seen Mad World.
I thought you said you had.
I'm saying that I haven't seen all of the ones that lead up to Rat Race.
Gotcha.
Okay.
My bad.
Actually, I probably have at this point because I watched Cannonball Runs. And also dick jokes.
And smash cut.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Find us on SoundCloud and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Can't get enough of us? Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. And if you like what you heard, please go ahead and give us a rating.